Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Happy hump day. Is it hump day? Every day is... I'm just kidding. That would be inappropriate of me to say, and I won't say it. Make sure, if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe, hit the like button, hit that thumbs up button there, and comment on this video. It'll help us out in the algorithm, which we all know is stacked against us. Just a reminder, I've been demonetized since last April. Was it last April? No, it was the April before that, because now we're in 2025. So we're going on 2 years. We're going on my 2-year anniversary of making $0 from YouTube on this program. So we just appreciate, just subscribe. And that's all we're asking for. So today, the FDA, they issued an order. Now, I would say this sort of came out of nowhere. Or did it? We'll get to that. But they issued an order banning the artificial food color or the artificial color red dye. This is red dye number 3 from both food products like candy, cereals, beverages. You'd be shocked at what all they use it in. And then also ingested drugs, because they have it in cough syrups. Why? I don't know. Do you need to buy a cough syrup that is neon red and cherry flavored, or can you just drink a clear one with the same flavor? I would say it's pointless. But hey, who am I to say that? Okay. So I want to show you guys some of the products that contain red number 3. And if they don't remove them, they're going to be removed from the shelves. Candies, we've got Pez, Double Bubble, Brock's candy corn, Jelly Belly candies, Trolley sour crunchy crawlers. That sounds disgusting. Baked goods and snacks like Little Bites party cake mini muffins. This is Entenmann's. Betty Crocker fruit by the foot. Toaster pastries, assorted toaster pastries. Cookies with red icing or decorations. And then you've got strawberry flavored milk, certain ice cream flavors, ice pops, and then maraschino cherries. Oh, we'll get to that in a moment too. Fruit cocktails, Yoo-hoo strawberry drink, and then of course gummy vitamins, Pediasure, things of that nature. This is, by the way, it's not a all-encompassing comprehensive list. This is just kind of a starter. Okay. Now, red number 3 is an ingredient that has already been banned or restricted in basically practically all of the European Union, Australia, Japan, China, New Zealand already, due to evidence that it could cause cancer. Now, I'd like to just provide you with the timing of when all of these other countries banned red dye number 3. It was the 1990s. The 1990s was when they knew they had evidence that this could cause cancer, and they removed it from all of their products. So You have to ask yourself. I'm so happy. I was so happy when I saw that news. I hope that this is just one small step in a whole lot of reform in our foods. But you have to ask yourself, why now? Why now? Because do you know how long the FDA has known? The FDA has just expressly said red number 3 was a carcinogen. That happened in the 1980s. And all the way back in 1990, the same as these other countries here, the FDA actually removed red number 3 from use in cosmetics. So lipsticks used to have red number 3. They haven't been able to since 1990. Skincare products used to have it. They haven't been able to. Topical drugs like pain relief ointments. Now, I can't grasp why an ointment would need to be red, but I digress, okay? So at that time, in 1990, the FDA said that they were going to remove red number 3 from the food supply as well because they admitted that it causes cancer and is a carcinogen. But do you know why that never happened? Let me tell you. Because they got pressure from the maraschino cherry industry because they use the color to keep their cherries neon red. And so instead of protecting the American people and doing the right thing, they caved to the maraschino cherry industrial complex. So this is a headline here. Dying to keep the cherry red, the Washington Post, back from 1989. There were articles written about it at the time. Fruit industry fights plan to ban coloring. 1989. And so the FDA admitted that it was unsafe and didn't remove it. And so now, for 35 years, the FDA, your government, has allowed a known carcinogen in thousands of candies, baked goods, snacks, drinks, medicines that you and your children have been ingesting. And by the way, hate to break it to you if you don't already know, this is not the only one, red number 3. This is not the only carcinogen. This is not the only poison. Far from it. So there's a clause that they cite, the FDA. It's called the Delaney Clause. And this particular regulation prohibits the FDA from authorizing any food or color additive that has been found to cause cancer. Now, I want you to do the math here, okay? The clause has been in place since 1958. Since 1958, we've had the Delaney Clause that says you guys are not allowed to authorize foods or additives that cause us problems. 1958. So you do the math and tell me why the FDA Deputy Director for Human Foods was just telling NBC, like today, well, the FDA cannot authorize a food additive or color additive if it has been found to cause cancer in human or animals. Evidence shows cancer in laboratory male rats exposed to high levels of FD&C red number 3. Yeah, no shit. That's why it was already removed. 1958, that clause was in place. 1980s, they found it out. 1990, the FDA removes it from other products. Other countries remove it from their products. But the maraschino cherries, man, they're too important, okay? And by the way, the food companies have until January 2027 to remove it from their products. The drug companies have until January 2028 to remove it from theirs. So I guess they figure, it's been 35 years. What's a few more at this point, right? But, until then, hope you don't get cancer. Hope you don't get, your kids don't get diagnosed with ADHD. It's been linked to that as well. Hope you don't develop a thyroid problem. It's been linked to that as well. Because while your government is colluding with lobbyists rather than doing their job, we are dying, literally dying, okay? The Peterson KFF Health System Tracker shows the United States has the lowest life expectancy among large, wealthy countries. That's embarrassing. Life expectancy in the United States, 77.5. Germany, 80.7. UK, 80.9. Canada, 81.3. France, 82.3. Australia, 83.3. Japan, 84.1. And to add insult to injury, okay, the United States United States also, as you would expect, spends far more per person on healthcare than any other large wealthy country. Guys, apparently it isn't working. Something's wrong, okay? Let's look at the health spending per capita. U.S. is $12.5 $12,500. Germany, $8K. The UK, nearly $5,500. Canada, $6,300. France, $6,600. Australia, $6,370. Japan, they're all the way down to $5,251. $5,251. So we're spending over $4,000 more than the next highest country, but our people are dying an average of at least 4 years younger. Do you think it's a coincidence that our own government has been allowing chemicals and carcinogens and all sorts of poisons into our foods for decades now? So I just want to be clear, like, trust me when I tell you, I am so happy about this move overall. I'm so happy. I know people are like, but Sarah, if you're happy, why are you yelling? Those that have watched me for a while know this is a passion of mine. I've been screaming from the rooftops for a very long time about our own government poisoning us through foods, drugs, their vaccine schedule that they give to children. But 35 years, they already knew. So again, I just have to ask, why now? Do they just need to give Joe Biden's administration some sort of legacy before RFK comes in and burns the whole thing down? And they need to take a victory lap because they've destroyed everything else? I don't know. I don't trust it. Okay? So this is a step in the right direction. This is a positive move. I'll take the W. But don't think for 1 second that this is the only one that exists in our food supply or that these people care about you. They don't. They've spent decades poisoning you. They only feel forced now because they think Maha is coming for them. And they're right. We are. So we'll take the W, okay? But we are coming for you. And we will win with RFK. And he is going to get confirmed. Or so I'm told. All right, we've got more to come. First, I want to thank our sponsor this segment, Birch Gold. So go talk to my friends over at Birch Gold. They're the only gold company that I trust. I do business with them, and they are releasing their ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era with a foreword written by Donald Trump Jr. You can get that. It's a free copy. You can get it along with Birch Gold's free information kit on gold if you text the word Sarah to 989898. And look, gold is your best hedge against a weakened dollar, against inflation. Joe Biden, thanks, Joe Biden. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Joe. So it is what it is right now. Trump's going to come in and he is going to make America great again. But gold, we all should diversify, okay? Birch Gold has helped us diversify. They can help you as well, especially if you have an existing IRA or 401k and you want to diversify. It's just sitting there. You want to diversify it into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. You can do that as well. So go talk to them or just text the word Sarah to go get that free copy, okay? Go get the free copy with the foreword by Trump Jr. by texting the word Sarah to 989898. Yesterday, I was in a bad mood. I was in a bad mood because I spent a good chunk of my afternoon watching the Texas legislature. It was their first day in session, and they got sworn in. And then their first order of business was to elect a new Speaker of the House. And now here in the state of Texas, we, of course, do have a Republican majority. I use the word Republican in air quotes. Well, if you don't know already why, you're about to find out. So we have a Republican majority. And electing Speaker of the House, you would think, would be easy because, well, the GOP meets, the caucus meets, and they elect their nominee for speaker, and then all of the Republicans fall in line and they back their guy because that's the Republican. And so that's not what ended up happening yesterday in the state of Texas. What ended up happening yesterday after this disgusting battle between Representative Dustin Burrows here in the state of Texas and Representative David Cook, who was the GOP caucus winner, what ended up happening was truly appalling. What ended up happening was after we kicked Dade to the curb as speaker, Dade Phelan, who those of you who are, you're not from Texas, you probably remember him as the one who was drunk on the House floor, slurring his words. Oh, I'm sorry, allegedly. Okay. Drunk on the House floor, slurring his words, an embarrassment to the entire state. The man who helped the Democrats stonewall conservative priorities, conservative legislation, because he himself was elected by Democrats. Well, we had the chance to change that here in the state of Texas, and we didn't due to, I believe it was a couple dozen Republicans who voted with the Democrats to select Dustin Burrows instead. So this headline just sums it all up. Anti-MAGA, Texas State Representative Burrows wins House speakership in bitter GOP inter-party battle. Now, I want to be clear here. Dustin Burrows was elected with 59% of them being Democrats. 59% of the people who voted for Dustin Burrows were Democrat. He won with a Democrat majority. He had someone come up and speak in favor of his nomination who was like a radical Democrat. You even had the Texas Democrats website, X account. You had their social media accounts, the Texas Democrats, putting out a press release talking about how excited they were to elect Republican, that's where the air quotes come in, Republican Dustin Burrows to Speaker of the House. I am so embarrassed right now to be in this state with these disgusting RINOs who don't listen to their constituents, who, by the way, the constituents decided in the primary season that we didn't like the RINOs and we washed away an unprecedented amount of them. Well, these guys said, you know what? We don't care. We're going to do what we want anyway, and we're going to make deals with the Democrats, even though the people said they wanted Republican conservative legislation. And I want to welcome to the show one of my friends, Texas State Representative Brian Harrison, who I just wanted to get your feedback here, Brian. I'm mad, okay? Do you have like a positive spin on this at all? Because I'm pissed.
I'm afraid I don't have a lot that's going to change your mood, Sarah, but it's always great to be with you, my friend, and I appreciate what you do to keep the people of Texas informed about what's really going on behind closed doors here underneath the pink dome in the capital of the great state of Texas. And look, I've seen a lot of swampy things. I've battled the swamp in D.C. Most recently for President Trump. Right before I got elected down here, I was his chief of staff at the biggest cabinet agency. And when I got elected, Sarah, I got to tell you, I don't think anything could have prepared me for the shock of what I was going to find when I walked into the House chamber. We're a big, bright red, people think, Republican state. The voters of Texas gave us the governor's mansion, lieutenant governor's office, every statewide official, and big majorities in the Texas Senate and in the Texas House. But what did I find when I got elected? Well, Democrats were chairing 40% of our committees. A Democrat was the Speaker pro tem, the most powerful staffer in the House chambers, our parliamentarian. And who is he? He's a former Barack Obama White House lawyer. The Republican Party legislative priorities aren't even allowed to be debated, but hundreds of Democrat bills get on the floor. And that's what I walked into when I got elected 3 years ago. And I've been trying to do everything that I can to upset the status quo and bring unprecedented transparency to what this is. It's a betrayal of the voters that sent elected Republicans to office with the expectation that they would govern as Republicans and not empower the very Democrats that were defeated at the ballot box. And unfortunately, we saw that happen just one more time again yesterday.
It's like, I don't understand what the end game is, because you would think that these guys, and at least several gals, you would think that these people would see the writing on the wall, because you saw all of these, a giant handful of Republicans, just totally, it was a bloodbath during the primaries, including in my own district, our good friend Mitch Little, including Kronda Timich, who got ousted as well. It was just ballot after ballot after ballot, district after district. We rose up and we said, we want actual conservatives. You had actual conservatives go to the GOP convention over the summer, and we were the ones who set the tone for, the new priorities. We were the ones who set the tone for the rule changes. And you have this handful, a minority in the Republican Party here in the state of Texas, who think that that we answer to them somehow, not the other way around. And I'm just like, it's like, to help me unpack how they think that this is possibly going to end for them, other than eventually you're going to get kicked out because the people are going to get sick of it.
Well, it's emblematic of what I think is, let's take this to more foundational level, something that I've been fighting against for many years in and out of government in Texas, as well as at the federal level, is there are far too many people that put the word Republican by their name, that have become confused along the way, and they basically believe that the acquisition of power is the end in and of itself, as opposed to a means to an end. And what that end should be is the only thing that matters at this point. And then, look, the speaker race was a dumpster fire, but it's in some ways, thank God, it's in the rearview mirror. And now what needs to happen is that elected Republicans that do have power, we need to focus on the only things that matter in the area of government. That's two things. That's reducing the size, scope, scale, burden of government, and maximizing individual liberty for the 30 million Texans who call this state home. And so that's got to be the job number one at this point. And as for the people who made that deal yesterday, the future will tell. I mean, I'll be very honest. I don't know that if there's much precedent for people getting booted out of office just for one speaker vote. But what's going to happen over the next 5 months is going to tell the story. Because if you team up with the Democrats to elect the speaker, as happened yesterday, and that's just an objective fact. I mean, it was a supermajority of Democrats with a relatively small number of Republicans that elected our speaker. And by the way, for your viewers watching this that are still trying to process what they're hearing, you're not hearing us wrong. This is probably the first time, maybe not just in Texas, but in American history, where you have a majority party in a legislative body hand over or to the minority party the complete and total ability to select the leadership of that chamber. I mean, maybe it happened once with Joe Strauss when there was only 11 or so, but this is almost unprecedented anywhere else other than in, embarrassingly, the state that I love and call home, the great state of Texas. But we've got to focus on policy at this point. It's why I put out, what I call the Texas First Liberty Agenda. Many, many ways in which we need to reduce government and protect the individual liberties that too many Republicans forget do not come from government, but are inalienable and are endowed to us by our Creator. And it's the number one job of government to protect those rights and those liberties. So time will tell. The Republicans that made that horrible deal yesterday, will they feel enough pressure? Because remember, Sarah, there's still 88 Republicans. We have a massive majority. So nothing liberal can pass the Texas House. Even with the speaker, no matter how much of a dumpster fire that speaker campaign was, no matter who the speaker is, it still takes Republicans to pass anything. And because we have 88 Republicans, there are enough Republicans to block any bad bills. So the question will be right now, what decision will Republicans make in the aftermath of that speaker fight? And I'll be really clear to both sides, my colleagues on both sides, not just the aisle, but to the different factions within the warring factions within the GOP caucus. To the extent that you are willing to reduce government and protect liberty, I will be your biggest and most vocal ally. But anytime you're cutting deals with Democrats to expand government and reduce liberty, I'm committed to being your most fierce, loud, bold, and vocal opponent. And I think I'll be standing with most of the 30 million Texans alongside with me in that fight.
Amen to that. So you put out these priorities. Can you just briefly tell me what some of these top priorities are that you just released?
Yeah, there's some of the ones that don't make a lot of the headlines, unfortunately, and they're really important things that need to make headlines. You and I have talked about them before. Government saying taxpayer-funded sexualization of Texas kids, doctors transitioning minors with these horribly dangerous and irreversible sex change procedures. These are things that should be banned, but I actually view that for a Republican state like Texas. I mean, that's the basics. That's the bare minimum. You should no doctors in Texas shouldn't be allowed to carve up kids.
Well, I hate to interrupt you, but I would just like to say, as someone we both know, State Representative Jared Patterson has said is red meat legislation. I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's red meat. So you don't get to keep patting yourself on the back for it. It's red meat.
I view that, Sarah, I've used on that, and I know I'll get to the points in a second because I really want to talk about the Liberty Agenda. But to that point, because people really like that, there's some politicians, I don't know how they don't break their arms patting themselves on the back on doing what I consider like the lowest of low hanging fruits. Like people who have a job, right? You get out of bed every morning. Well, most people shower and put their clothes on, but they don't give themselves a ticker tape parade paid putting their clothes on in the morning. They still have to go to work and do their job. I view banning, sex changes for minors. I mean, that's like getting up and showering in the morning. That's not anything you should be proud of. We should have banned that, quite frankly, better part of a decade ago. Right. Why did it take so many years to do it? But other things that don't get as much attention, but they're critically important, like restoring fiscal sanity to the state of Texas. A lot of people think we're this sort of like libertarian, utopian, small government, low tax, low regulation state, but it's not. We have some of the most crushing levels of local government debt that are taxing people's out of our homes, private property taxes that are literally taxing people out of their homes. We're one of the most heavily regulated states in the country. And in fact, when it comes to freedom to work, Texas is dead last. We have more occupational regulations in the state of Texas than California, New York, and every other Democrat state. So we've got to restore fiscal sanity, and we got to cut the budget. Last session, we grew our budget. Instead of putting our state on a path to eliminate property taxes, we grew our budget from just one cycle to the next at a faster rate than even D.C. Democrats ever proposed. So we need to have a 15% budget cut across the board, restore, zero-based budgeting. We've got to clip the power, and this is maybe one of the most important things. As President Trump goes back to D.C. and is standing up Doge and is going to take a wrecking ball to the administrative state, we have got to lead by example in the state of Texas, and we need to stop letting woke, leftist, liberal, unelected bureaucrats control our lives and crush business and crush free enterprise. We've got the Texas Medical Board right now hired a Planned Parenthood official to regulate all doctors in the pro-life state of Texas. How the hell is this happening? The legislature has got to do a better job asserting legislative oversight over our woke and liberal regulatory bodies and administrative agencies. Because, look, I think all your viewers would agree with me on this. We're a conservative Republican state. Texans deserve to have conservative Republicans running all of our state agencies. And by the way, that includes our public universities, where, contrary to myth and misconception, some of our greatest public universities, like my alma mater, Texas A&M, University of Texas, University of Houston, University of North Texas, they are abusing taxpayer dollars to the tunes of tens of millions of dollars to promote liberal indoctrination instead of education, to promote LGBTQIA sexuality studies, to promote transgenderism, and then, quite frankly, to promote and train the government DEI staff of tomorrow. This should never be happening in the great state of Texas, and I'm not going to stop. And if it takes me having to file legislation to cut all taxpayer funding from our public universities to get their attention, our universities need to get back to the basics of educating the next generation and get out of the business of woke, liberal, dangerous indoctrination.
Ooh, don't threaten me with a good time. So right. I want to ask you.
I'm excited about it.
I'm very excited about it, actually. I mean, well, listen, you changed my mood, okay? Because I started this mad, but now I'm excited. But
what happens when people talk to me, Sarah? They get in better moods, you know?
So last question for you.
Yeah.
Obviously, a big issue on both sides of the aisle is school choice. Democrats are just staunchly oppose it, and Republicans are like, why the hell haven't we passed this? It's embarrassing how many states have passed it before us. The governor has called for it, lieutenant governor. Do you think, even now with this speaker selection, are we going to pass school choice this session?
So the honest answer, I don't know. There's no reason we shouldn't. There's no reason that on paper would make sense to anybody who doesn't closely follow the dumpster fire that can be the Texas legislature. Because when I travel around the country, Sarah, and speak on this issue and other issues, people are shocked to learn that even though 34 states have already empowered their parents with at least some form of education freedom, the state of Texas has passed nothing. And I'll go back to when I was elected, because I don't know the numbers with the new class, but when I was elected, there were, I think, 24 Republican members of the Texas House who had been basically endorsed by Randy Weingarten's teacher union. So how surprising is it that education freedom is not happening in Texas? But Sarah, let me just one sentence to strike home how vital this is. Only 23% of Texas 8th graders in our government education monopoly are proficient at grade level in reading and mathematics. So we have an absolute staggeringly steep decline in rates of education. But what's happening? That's not happening alone. We're having a massive increase in dangerous liberal indoctrination. And so what happens if we don't reverse this course and give parents exit rights, put competition in here, let parents take their kids out of these schools that are indoctrinating them and put them in a school where they can educate them? If we don't do that, Sarah, inside of 18 years, we're going to have an entire generation that can vote. And my fear is that every one of our God-given freedoms and liberties that our forefathers, when they founded this country, and the generations that came before us fought, and many paid the ultimate price for, all of them will be up on the chopping block. So I think that I agree with Senator Ted Cruz and conservative leaders across the country that education freedom may be the civil rights issue of our era, and it's one of, if not the biggest issues, imperatives that we pass in this upcoming legislative session.
I appreciate you so much. I'm hearing the liberals. I'm hearing their what they would say in response to you. But if we just had more money, no.
Can I answer that real fast? Can I tell you one statistic? Your viewers have to know this, okay? More money. Money is not. There's a lot of problems in government education. Okay, money is not one of. They are swimming in cash. They are overfunded since 2011. Per pupil funding has skyrocketed by 42%. We are now paying right at $17,000 per student per year in the state of Texas for these just pitiful and increasingly failure rates. Okay, but over the same time, where we've increased funding per pupil 42%, have test scores gone up by 42%? No. Math scores over the same period have plummeted by 40%. Blindly throwing more money at the problem is what liberal Democrats who don't want to face reality do. And we in the state of Texas have got to be better and demand bold reforms, because I believe, and I know you do too, Sarah, I believe every child deserves a quality education.
Amen. Amen. I appreciate your hard work down there. I'm sorry that it has to be in Austin. I do feel bad. I do feel bad for you about that. But hey, you know what? Better you than me.
Well, I'm sitting here staring at a picture of my wife and my 4 kids who are all under 10. And look, we've got to have more people willing to get into government to serve. Because let me tell you, Sarah, every elected official, he has to make a choice. You have to make it. You can't avoid the choice. Yeah. You can either prioritize being popular in the swamp, or you can fight to protect the liberty of the next generation. And for me, that's a no-brainer looking at a picture right now as I am of my 4 kids that are under 10. We've got to have more people remember why they are in these offices. They're not just there to keep a chair warm and have lobbyists pay them, $1,000 dinners and junkets every night. We're here to protect the freedoms that came from our Creator. And I just hope more of my colleagues realize that before it's too late.
Yeah. Texas State Representative of District 10, Brian Harrison. Thank you so much.
Always great to be with you, Sarah.
See you next time. That school choice thing really, really makes me mad. It's so embarrassing, guys. How many states have to do it before Texas is finally like, well, okay, I guess we'll give our kids a proper education. Crossing my fingers that this session is the session. All right, I want to bring in the panel to talk. You know what? Let's talk about some confirmation hearings with Pam Bondi when we return. All right, welcome. My panel today, we've got Pat Gray, host of Pat Gray Unleashed, along with Jason Buttrill, chief researcher of the Glenn Beck program. It's been a while, my friend.
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
I feel like you've been avoiding me.
I have not.
Really?
I have not.
I was starting to get a complex.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm here. I'm here. It's okay.
I appreciate it.
Pat wakes up at like 2 a.m.
I know. I honestly, I always
right now.
I always feel bad when I ask him to stay this late in the day, which is not that late in the day, but it is for someone who has to wake up that early. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
So Pam Bondi, former Florida Attorney General, appeared for her Senate confirmation this morning.
It's good. I thought it couldn't get better than Hegseth, and then
Really?
Bondi stepped to the mic. Yeah,
And you liked it
it's going good.
because of Pam Bondi herself or because of the questioning?
Yes.
I think Jason's saying Pam Bondi is hot. If I'm reading between the lines.
Am I ever accused of saying things like that?
Literally all the time. So I want to play Pam Bondi talking today in this confirmation hearing about the weaponization of the DOJ. Watch.
Like the president, I believe we are on the cusp of a new golden age where the Department of Justice can and will do better if I am confirmed. Lastly, and most importantly, if confirmed, I will fight every day to restore confidence and integrity to the Department of Justice and each of its components. The partisanship, the weaponization will be gone. America will have one tier of justice for all.
Now, you may be wondering, well, how are you going to stop the weaponization of the DOJ against Americans? Well, Senator Mike Lee from Utah was wondering that as well. Here is that exchange.
As Attorney General, how will you prevent the weaponization of the Department of Justice against Americans.
Going after parents at a school board meeting has got to stop. For practicing your religion, sending informants into Catholic churches must stop.
What about branding parents as domestic terrorists or trying to incarcerate one's political opponent as a sitting president of the United States?
Will stop, must stop.
I mean, that's great. You know, she's, to be honest with you, I'm glad to hear that Jason is enthused. She's probably like one of the ones that I'm the least enthusiastic about. Maybe it's because I'm so biased that it should have been Ken Paxton.
Oh, okay.
But she's made some comments in the past that about like red flag laws and, just like Second Amendment stuff that makes me a little bit uneasy. But she does seem prepared to, I guess, clear out the deep state bureaucrats who just want to use the DOJ to, wield, like basically punish their political opponents. How much did you get to catch any of it, Pat?
I didn't actually see the testimony. I was going to do that when I got home tonight, but I am excited about it being the best looking cabinet of all time.
Yeah.
I'm pretty thrilled about that.
Yeah.
You got Pete Hegseth.
Yep.
You got
Yep.
Pam Bondi.
Yep.
This is going to be pleasant to look at least for the
RFK, Tulsi.
RFK, not bad.
Yeah.
Tulsi, not bad.
Yeah.
But
Can we get an Anna Paulina Luna in the cabinet? Just saying. She's needed in Congress.
that would help.
That
That would help. Sure wouldn't hurt.
That would raise the level like real high.
But if she can stop the weaponization of the DOJ, and I think she can and will, I mean, we'll be so much further ahead than we have been recently. And, she handled herself really well with all the Democrats, and so did Hegseth yesterday.
He did.
He's
a saint.
He was awesome.
How was he able to
great.
listen to all of those
I don't know.
screeching chickens, hens?
Incredible. And since when do Democrats care about people who cheat on their spouse?
Right.
Wait, is that a thing now? Okay, I thought character didn't matter. I thought it didn't bother how they do their job. Boy, that's sure changed now, hasn't it? So it's been pretty interesting to watch and to see the hypocrisy coming out from the left again.
Yeah.
I feel you on I think that there could have been more exciting candidates that could have been the attorney general.
But who I know, like I already know they have a track record that I'm
Paxton would have been great.
he would, like, if it would have been him, he would have gone in there and burned the whole freaking thing down.
Right.
Like I know that without a doubt.
Right. I see Pam as someone that's competent.
Are you guys? So you guys are on a first name basis?
Well, yeah, I see someone that's competent. I see someone that is in line with the Trump agenda.
Yeah.
So I think that she will move towards that. I mean, it seems like you're kind of set up for absolute success when you're following Biden and Garland.
Right.
When you're talking about weaponization of government, you can just kind of let it go back to business as usual. And then even when it was still bad, and then it'll appear, at least to us, on people on the right, that things are going better because what they did was an absolute horror show.
Yeah.
But what I was most excited with was just seeing how, I didn't think anybody was going to be better than Hegseth. Hegseth was home run after home run after home run.
It really was.
They were trying to trap him and to get him to say something stupid, and he just never even flinched.
Right.
But then Bondi was the same.
Yeah.
Really. How hard? It must have been easy to prep her for this because they're going to be like, okay, their attack line was, well, Trump said that he was going to weaponize the government. I'm sorry, but what have you been doing for 4 years?
I want to play that actually, or one of them. I want to play one of them. Let's play Senator Dick Durbin, who was like, yeah, but Trump. Watch.
President Trump claims he has, quote, an absolute right to do what he wants with the Justice Department.
Amazing.
And that's how he conducted his first term. He interfered with the criminal cases of his friends and allies and successfully pressured DOJ to investigate his rivals. He even tried to use the Justice Department to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election.
Guys, that's not no. The political rival thing really gets me. That really, really gets me. He was going to use the DOJ to go after his political rival. No, numbnuts. He was on a phone call trying to root out corruption from someone who happened to be his political rival, but also was the prior vice president. Corruption that has been very clearly documented on this network. How do I know? This guy wrote the freaking shows.
Right.
Like, so.
I will say he was so successful in weaponizing the DOJ that he even, after he wasn't even president anymore, got the DOJ to arrest himself. Or not arrest himself, but to indict himself, charge himself, and to have his private home raided.
Yeah.
That's, you're just not seeing how great he was at it because of that.
Right.
Something.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He was really terrible at insurrection, but he was really good at weaponizing the DOJ against himself. Really well.
That's stupid.
Well, they talk about him playing 4D chess. Maybe that's what that is
Yep.
there.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what that is there.
He had all of his lawyers arrested too. You know what I mean? It was like somehow he was a part of that. That's how bad this is getting. It's insane.
And I will say I am encouraged by the fact that Pam Bondi was, of course, a White House lawyer during the impeachment.
Yeah.
So she has seen this firsthand, right? So he seems to be very strategically picking people who who understand personally how bad their department that they are over, how bad it gets. With Tulsi at DNI, she knows personally the rot that's there because they've done it to her.
You find people that were part of the persecution,
right? And
they will be your biggest advocates. Look at Clarence Thomas.
Yeah.
Look even if he was not set up to be the amazing, justice that he is now, I'm sorry, but you weaponized him from the start.
Yep.
From the very beginning, you weaponized him. You made a lifelong enemy. Now, all of these people, all the people that are now going into the Trump administration, all the people that Biden tried to persecute or did persecute, you just made a ton of enemies. Mm-hmm. Have fun dealing with it for 4 years. Mm-hmm. Have fun.
Yeah. Well, I hope that she burns the whole thing to the ground. It's funny, Stephen and I were I know we're going to take a break in a second here, but Stephen and I were in D.C. not that long ago. Congressman Brandon Gill asked us to come to his swearing-in ceremony, or to his swearing-in celebration, and we weren't allowed to get into the gallery, but we were driving past all of the buildings, and you just see how big they are, and I'm like, whatever the hell we're paying to maintain this building is too much. Just get dynamite and just blow the whole thing up. We don't need it. It's way too big. They're all deep state bureaucrats. And by the way, there was that recent report that came out, not too long ago, that said that the majority of federal employees work from home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so they're not even in the building anyway. That's just literally taking up space. But it just did. I was like, ugh, the DOJ. Most people are like, ooh, wow, look at all. Oh, the Department of Education. I'm like, oh, bleh. I'm not like most people.
You're supposed to have this cool feeling going to DC, and I feel like overwhelmed with blackness every time I land in that airport.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, it is. Now, going to the Capitol was real. I had actually never been to the Capitol. And so going to the Capitol was pretty cool because, they've got all this, the historical memorabilia, the paintings and stuff that's in there that, when we were getting the tour, Brandon was explaining it all. And so it was cool to see all of that. But other than that, it was just, it was cold and it just started snowing so hard for no reason out of nowhere. And I was just like, I hate this place. I'm ready to go home.
I firmly believe the founders did too. I think they hated government so bad that they say, where do we put the Capitol? How about this swamp? It's disgusting. No one will want to pay it any mind. Let's just put it there.
Yeah. I think that's what happened with Texas as well.
Yeah.
Just saying. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Well, today is a fitting day to talk about anything related to the IRS, or now what Donald Trump is saying he's going to create, the External Revenue Service, the ERS. And I want to talk about that. But I say today is fitting because anyone who is self-employed, works for themselves, is a contract worker, knows that today is, of course, tax day with the quarterly tax payments. And maybe that's why I'm in such a bad mood today, because of how much money we just had to pay the IRS. And Stephen, I just want to ask, just tell the viewers, what does your shirt say that you're wearing today?
says taxes are gay.
Thank you. I have one too. His is black. Mine is in pink. But I couldn't wear it today because I was around my children. And it's like, I can't, like, this is just when they're gone. So, but he was all like covered up this morning when he left, so they couldn't see. But so Donald Trump is now saying that he is going to create an external revenue service on day one to help collect tariffs and revenue from other countries. He said, for far too long, we have relied on taxing our great people using the IRS. Through soft and pathetically weak trade agreements, the American economy has delivered growth and prosperity to the world while taxing ourselves. It is time for that to change. I am today announcing I will create the ERS to collect our tariffs, duties, and all revenue that come from foreign sources. We will begin charging those that make money off us with trade, and they will start paying, finally, their fair share. January 20th, 2025 will be the birth date of the ERS, Make America Great Again. Now, a new federal agency is going to require the approval of Congress, so I don't know exactly how he's going to do it, but like, I'm in. I'm totally in. Jason's giving me the look.
Well, I'm not for establishing another government.
No, but I'm in for holding all of these other countries accountable.
I'm not a big tariff guy.
I'm not either.
I'm a free trade person.
Yeah.
But if this is a negotiation tactic,
and
he's good at that.
He is.
And we've already seen the fruits of some of his negotiation tactics, and it really bears fruit. And so that's what I hope this is. And so he can convince the Chinas of the world to back off the tariffs that they impose on American products so we can sell our goods there, because they certainly sell their garbage here.
Right.
And so if it's a tactic like that, I think it's great. Otherwise, it's going to be a trade war. Prices are going to go up. It's not going to be a good thing.
Which will not be good because, prices have already gone up. And that's part of the problem and part of the reason that we voted Donald Trump in. But, I mean, just for reference, you've got the total U.S. revenue for 2023, $4.92 trillion. The 2023 tariffs collected was $80 billion. And when you go back to like the early 1900s, tariffs were the major source of federal income.
Yeah.
But today it's under 3% of total federal tax revenue. So to your point, Pat, Trump has talked about tariffs on Mexico and Canada. And I mean, the moment he mentions that, Justin Trudeau's like on a plane to Mar-a-Lago to go talk to him. I mean, it's working. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they're like, all right, well, we're cracking down on the border. So it has worked already. I suspect he knows what he's doing at this point.
I think he does.
Because, you've heard him. He's been so good, too, on, NATO and just on the amount of money that the Americans are spending or the United States is spending compared to all of these other nations who are not paying their fair share. And so I'm going to trust you on this. Jason's not.
Well, I don't trust any politician on anything. I think that he's moving in the right direction, though. And when I say moving in the right direction, I'm with Pat. I'm not a big tariff person.
Generally, I'm not either. But it feels like he has an overall plan that's more than just, I'm going to put a tariff on you.
Well, yeah. I think
that's it.
Well, I think that I do think a lot of this is negotiating tactic because when you look at, and I've talked about this on your show before. If you Google trade or tariff practices post World War II, you will be livid. You will look at the rest of the world and see that the United States, being in the position we were, winning the war, being like one of the economically funding the victory, we were given special a certain status to where we did not have tariffs, but every other country did. It protected their goods, primarily Europe. Europe is still benefiting from World War II or post-World War II tariffs that was meant to help them recover from the war. Why are we still being punished for that?
Right.
It makes no sense.
Right.
Just if Donald Trump said, how about this? Let's abolish the IRS. In that building, before we completely close it down, let's get some like duct tape where we just put external revenue service and we hire a bunch of temp nerds that will analyze all of these ways we've been screwed in some of these unfair ways. And they're the ones kind of like Doge that just sets the record straight. I'd be fine with that. You just set the record straight. Yeah. Don't punish us by having us perform on agreements made in 1948 or 1950. How about that? Let's start with that. Right. And then we'll move on.
Yeah. I would just say, I appreciate his overall vision that other countries need to be paying their fair share, and United States citizens are overtaxed with, of course, with the Doge, with the formation of Doge, trying to root out all of this inefficiency. It just feels like his overall vision is we're being overtaxed and we need to find a replacement for that. And that I very much appreciate. I mean, look at this guy. Look at this guy. Look at this guy dancing.
Just hanging out.
Just hanging out. Look at, how can you not love this guy? Pat Gray, Jason Buttrill, thank you guys.